It only takes one spark, one insight, one idea to create the exponential growth you desire. Welcome to the Growth Mode Podcast, where we share the strategies for your growth.
All right, so welcome back to Growth Mode Podcast. We got a great show planned for you today. We're looking at billboards. We're looking at 10 hooks for marketing. We're talking about things that sales leaders can do to measure and recognize their team. And of course, there's always something around agentic. So Jimmy, wanted to open up the show. Let's talk about billboards.
Well, first off, Tom, we're recording this in the end of July in 2025, and the fact that we're still talking about billboards is actually an interesting thing because I think this is a good example. Like sometimes sometimes the old stuff is worth revisiting and reimagining if you approach it in a new and unique way. Like, let me give you an example of this. This went viral on social media this past week. So shout out to our friend Jill Biggs. She posted this on her Instagram profile last year. So if you listen to the audio, last year we sold 526 homes. Your cousin sold 2. And then she has the hook here, list responsibly. I think if we're talking about growth here, I think everyone who listens to this podcast, like they're looking for ways to stand out in their marketing. That includes the messaging, but also the distribution. So let me ask you a question here. For people who are looking to invest in, let's say, traditional marketing, such as radio ads or billboards, do you have a threshold or do you have like a certain level of production someone should get to before they even consider this? Because people are going crazy on social media. They love the idea.
Yeah.
I'm sure the marketing meetings this week have been like, hey, how do we do our own billboard like Jill? What's your sort of best recommendation when it comes to marketing like this?
So I have a lot of clients that do billboards, and I want to be very clear for my friend that's listening. In my opinion, it is the last line of defense. It is, I've already arbitraged Google, Facebook, Instagram, let's call it, if you're in the US, Zillow, Realtor, Market VIP, like I control the online opportunities. And I was thinking about DJ and Lindsay, who I worked with forever, and Jason. I think you were their original coach. We were at the Pontra Vita golf course maybe a year ago or so, and we're sitting there getting a quick sandwich before we played golf. And I turned to the bartender. I said, "Hey, who's the best real estate agent in town?" And she's like, "Gosh, I don't know." And I'm sitting there with DJ, and he's like, shrugging his shoulders and wishing that she would say him because he's got like 35 billboards in the marketplace. Well, the reality was those billboards had a massive impact on the business, but he already controlled online, and he doesn't do a lot of direct mail. So it was like the last line of defense. And Jill Biggs, who's been a longtime client and a great friend, this is a good example of that. She controls all of that. I want to say she's doing sub 20% of the market in Hoboken, Weehawken, Jersey City, and she controls all the digital footprint. So I like this move. I also like it because it's a little controversial. Right. I like that. It reminds me of my friend who I told you guys about, who when he was running Remax of Ontario Mid-Atlantic as the master franchise company, Michael Polsler, they were doing billboards and bus benches and bus inside the little deal ads. Basically never hire a part-time real estate agent. And it was controversial. It made a lot of people angry. But they were making a stand for consumers. So I think Jill is kind of doing her version of that. That's my take. What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, well, Jason, just to build on that real quick, Tom, I have a question for Jason, because Jason, I know you got another example to share. But Jason, if you were the cousin, okay, in this scenario, where does your head go? Okay, because right now, I think people who are listening, we have a lot more cousins than we have Jill Biggs listening to the podcast right now. People who are trying to get to the number one position. So how do you think about that, Jason? How do you think about marketing when it comes to you are actually not number one?
So I think what Tom said rings really true, which is this is something you consider when you're at a level of dominance and you are sort of cementing your authority and your dominance in that marketplace. If you're the new agent and you look at this, I think you focus on your advantage. It reminds me of a question I got the other day. I was doing an event and I had a younger agent ask me, hey, if you're a brand new agent, how do you position yourself to win? And I said, that question's coming from this lens of you're somehow at a disadvantage compared to a more senior agent. I think you got to lean into your advantages. I mean, I was a new agent at one point in my career long ago when I started in real estate, and I leaned into the tech, to the marketing, to the aspects that gave me an edge. And I said, if you look at it differently, it's like, I mean, some of the folks who've been in the business longer could see the fact that they've been in longer as a disadvantage because maybe they're not necessarily as tech leading edge and so forth. So I think if I'm an agent who's not selling as many, it's simple. I would lean into the fact that I'm going to give you personalized care. I'm going to give you really, really detailed. Hey, it's fine if you want to work with an assembly line. I'm not calling Jill that. That's your decision. But if you want to work with somebody who's white glove service, ready to really walk you through the process, that's where I step in.
Jason, just Tom, just to build on that before we move on to point number two.
Yes.
Real quick, Jason, you said something that's really important. In marketing, every strength can become a weakness, and every weakness can become a strength. So if I was the cousin, I might, and I had a budget for a billboard, I had like levered up to get a billboard, I might write a competing billboard that says like, to her, you're just another number.
Yeah.
Right? And like, if you, and I would say, and I would have a line like, personal service is better. Now, what I'm doing with a line like that is I'm communicating that this is my worldview, that personal service isn't better, without even saying that she doesn't deliver personal service. By saying it, I'm now implying that like big box, big brands, you are just another trophy in their trophy case. So I think you're spot on, which is this idea of like, if you're an inexperienced agent, you have got to take your weaknesses and turn them into strengths. You got to take their strengths and perceive them as weaknesses in your positioning. And I think that's a very important thing. And I'm reminded of, Tom, I'm reminded of the ad from Avis. Remember, like, so the two rental car companies, Hertz and Avis, I think Hertz was number one forever and ever and ever. And they just dominated Avis. I mean, they just, hey, we're number one. And Avis came out with this great ad campaign, might have been in the 80s. They said, Avis, we're number two. We try harder.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so such a great line.
Before we bounce from the billboards, I agree. I think if I was competing in the marketplace, I could imagine how like houses on a conveyor belt versus holding your home in my hand. Right, like some visual like that. But here's the reality: that newer agent's probably not going to run a billboard. So what they need to be thinking about, in my opinion, is probably more how am I going to go deeper with the people that I already know, like, and trust. I might actually make fun of it in in an email newsletter to my customers, saying, some people focus on a conveyor belt of transactions, and I think me well enough to know, like, whether I sell 1 or 100, it's about the personal touch. And I would be like soft and gentle with my email database. I'd probably do a social post. I might even do a reel with it behind me, calling it out. Again, I don't think we should be attacking our counterparts, because the next time you do that, write an offer on that person who's listening and see how that works out.
Yes.
Let me build on this really quick. I know we got to move on, but this is an ad or a billboard that our good buddy Ken Posick ran last year. So it's a little bit dated. Check this out. It's a numbers game, but it's a different kind of numbers game. So instead of number of sales, it's focusing on number of client 5-star reviews. And what I love about that is it does create authority. Like, wow, this guy's got a lot of 5-star reviews. But instead of making it a number, it's actually that many people claiming he's awesome. And so I think that it sort of accomplishes a similar mission. But it really positions Ken as proven by his customers and clients. I don't know what you guys think about that particular campaign.
I love it, because certainly when you look at how people make decisions today, I'm sure we'll get into it, whether it's now or on a future show. I think most buyers, the data would say that most buyers will pretty much work with anybody that can open the door and let them into the house. But when we look at the data around how we're selecting real estate agents to list our homes, it's very different. So if I was driving down the street and I saw that ad, which by the way, I'm probably doing that now because my Tesla's driving the car for me and I'm not really thinking about it, I'm just looking at my phone, then I'm actually going to think about, if I was selling my house, I love my agent or my friend who hasn't communicated with me that effectively over the last couple of years, but they sold me a house. I'd at least have to take a look at What is, whatever it was, 800, 5-star reviews. What is that? What's the difference?
Yeah.
So that would be my take.
Yeah. Last thing, real quick, just 30 seconds on this. What you described at the beginning, Tom, is this type of marketing is marketing that creates a halo effect for your brand, which is so I'm not a huge fan of these big direct calls to action, call, text this number, scan this QR code. I think that stuff is just generally missing the mark, although of course it could work. But to your point, once you've checked all the boxes, this is a kind of a nice way to build a moat around your brand. And so every email you send, every postcard you send, every phone call you send gets a little bit easier when people know who you are. And it's a great line. I think the guy's name is Matt Johnson. He said, having a brand is like playing the game of capitalism on easy mode. And so the idea of like, if you got the resources to invest in these campaigns, don't expect them to flood your phones with more phone calls. Just expect it to kind of lift up all the other marketing that you continue to do that actually drives results.
Yeah.
So one more thought before we transition. And Jason, I want to get your take on this. I was in a conversation with our good friend Mark D, from 1000 Watt, and we were chatting about, what is the right approach online and in our marketing. And he said something to me. He said, I think a lot of agents are spending a lot of time vibing, as he referred to it, on social. The funny things that they do, the goofing around stuff that is probably more for real estate agents and not so much for consumers. And he said, there's a way to vibe that it's just kind of goofy. And then he said, hey, there's some vibing stuff that, our friend from Vanessa from Domo does, where she's, dressing up like other agents, as an example. But it really got us thinking, like, what's the appropriate percentage of vibing, which is, part of that is just your personality. It's the stuff that you're into. It's you and your kids at the dog park, right? It's, that's part of your vibing versus brand and real marketing. And he said, I think it's like 30% vibing and it's 70% brand and marketing. And Jimmy, he says in the marketing side, that's where you do have the CTA, right? Where you do say, are you interested in more? Jason, what's your take just on the comment of sort of vibing versus brand and marketing?
Yeah, I really appreciate Mark's perspective. I mean, he always has a different take or a unique insight in anything he shares and what he looks at. He's just a smart guy.
Yeah.
I think you have to define what it means to be vibing. And so I think for our listener today or our viewer, depending upon where you're checking out this podcast, I think vibing may trigger you to think, oh, I'm supposed to be funny on Instagram. But if you're not funny, then it should be 0% of your strategy.
Right. Yeah.
So I think we have to define what we mean by vibing. What I mean by vibing, or what I think is meant by vibing is being yourself, the real you. Sort of letting your guard down and being casual. And my thought is he's probably got about the right percentage. But I would also go so far as to say, without turning this podcast into a giant algorithm study, at the end of the day, the way Instagram works very simply is it looks at all your posts and it takes the sum average of, oh, Jimmy makes content like this for people like that. And so if there's too much disparity between your posts, you're going to make it a watered down algorithmic interpretation of who you are for. And so my focus has always been on take the professional you and the personal you and blend them together in everything you do, because that's going to be what attracts your audience. And so I think there's probably a way, and maybe I've got a different interpretation of what's meant by vibing. But I think there's probably a way to have it ring true in what you do, where it's a reflection of your brand. But it's also not going to pull away from Instagram's ability to serve your content to the right audience. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah. Jimmy, you got 2 cents on there before we switch gears?
Well, listen, I'm just bad at vibing in general on social media.
No, Jimmy, you're fantastic at it. You're great.
The problem is I'm afraid to show my obnoxious Boston side of me. So I just keep it like, here's something you should do right now to get a customer, which works for me. But the funny thing is the thing I think I always look for is we're now entering in a space where what I would advise agents to do, what I'm trying to do now, Tom, is like I want to see more agents create in public. Meaning, like, there's a great brand everyone should follow. There's a guy, this young kid, probably in his 20s, is building like an incredible candy brand. It's called Joyride. You guys have probably seen it, or maybe someone has seen this brand. And what he's doing is he's kind of creating his company in public. We're all familiar with the idea of work in public, but this idea of create in public. This guy has built 2 million followers on social media selling candy. He's gotten into Target because of it, Walmart because of it. He engages his community in really smart ways. Like one time he ran a poll. Is like, if you like, we will do whatever you want to do to our mascot, with the comment that gets the most likes. And so the mascot had to go skydiving because of it, right? And so it's like, it's the
Very
craziest.
Mr. Beast.
It's the craziest thing
Yes.
ever. So I just think, like, if you really want to ramp up your social media and you feel like you're seeking some inspiration, I look at the Shan Gillettes, I look at the Vanessa Rileys, I look at the Ken Pozaks, but then I'm looking also at the companies like Joyride or companies like Oatly
Yes.
or other
Yeah.
brands out there who are doing
Yeah.
really interesting things beyond just their own kind of like, this is what we sell.
I know
Yeah,
we're never
for-
going to transition, but I got to throw this in there. So, Jimmy, what you're describing is the importance of building an audience. I think a lot of folks look at social media and they're like, I just want to get some inbound leads. I want to get some customers. And that's looking for touchdowns, not first downs. And I think what you got to go for is, how do I build an audience who I can have influence and we get to know each other so that they come to me when they're ready. I
Yep.
think that's where you're going with it.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's talk about marketing hooks. I think we go right to marketing hooks. I think everybody listening wants to grow, and they definitely get some insights here. But if you're looking to grow, you could make the argument most people don't have the right hook. And let's be clear, just listed and just sold is not a hook. So, Jimmy, you did some research on this. Why don't you give us a little reveal here, and let's talk about how everyone listening can get a little more growth from this conversation.
Yeah, if I remember the quote correctly, Tom, David Ogilvy said, when you've written your headline, you've already spent 80 cents of your dollar.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so this idea of recognizing that hooks don't just exist in the videos for social media, but recognizing they exist in every single aspect of marketing: email, text, videos, certainly postcards, billboards, you name it. So I am, as everyone knows, obsessed with this idea. So I actually follow, I'm going to pull it up real quick, a creator that everyone should follow. Her name's Dara Denny. She now has 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. I've been following her since she had like 3,000, right? Just incredible marketer. And she works with direct-to-consumer brands selling like makeup and different kind of products that appeal to sort of younger women at this stage. But she's always sharing some of the best insight around, like, hey, I manage millions of dollars in ad spend. Here are the hooks that are actually driving sales. So let me just stop real quick. This is not like, here's a good hook that's really clever. She's testing hooks against money, Tom.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
What's the old expression from Warren Buffett? Like, the difference between an opinion and conviction is a check, right? Like,
That's right.
And so she's testing her hooks against like actual money. So she created this video, and what I did is I took the transcript from the video, because I'm Jason's biggest pupil here. I took the transcript from the video, I threw it in ChatGPT, I analyzed it, I got the insight, and then I created a little graphic for you guys to see. And I'm gonna pull it up real quick. I took the best direct-to-consumer hooks and I turned them into real estate hooks. So as you can see here are the 10 hooks. And she breaks them up into different categories: the break tradition hook, the controversial hook, the conversational hook, the viral hook, the reaction hook, controversy, trigger, demographic, multiple hook. I'm just going to focus on one real quick that I think is really attractive to me, is the break tradition hook. So if you look at the first one here, right? You don't need to wait until the spring to sell your house. Here's why. Tom, that could be an opening to a text. It could be opening to an email, video, you name it. And so I think, like, we'll publish this in the show notes, but I'm just a huge fan of taking inspiration from outside of real estate and going back and saying, okay, cool, let's apply this to everything we do in real estate. So the emails we send get read, the texts get responded to, the videos get watched.
I love it. I wish I would have got this in advance, because I like to study it here. I like your assessment is wrong and it's costing you money. Forget open houses. This one strategy sold a home in 3 days.
Yep.
Let me just see here. Trigger word hooks, 3 biggest mistakes. Okay, so that makes sense. Controversial hooks. Walk us through these, Jimmy.
Yeah, so this is saying something. So controversy is one way to have pattern interrupt. And so what I would do is I'd say, make a list of things that either other agents do or the customers believe. So if other agents host open houses, I might say, I tell all my clients open houses are a waste of time. Here's why. You know,
Yes.
if other agents, let's say, are in this case like taking professional photography, well, like I might say, hey, I tell all my clients that like taking, using professional photography is a big mistake. Here's why. And so you have to take something that people believe to be true, believe to be doctrine, believe to be this cannot be untrue, and then challenge that is the point. And so I'm a huge fan of this kind of angle. The other one I want to call out here, the trigger word hooks, is like this one we should all be using. The biggest mistakes that will cost you thousands of dollars when selling your house, right? Tom, you can use this for like, let me give you a just listed example for just workshopping this right now.
Sure.
If I were to send an email for just listed, what actually real quick, what does a just listed email typically like open with? Like what's the subject line?
Dear neighbor.
Yeah.
There's no hook. There's no opening.
Don't miss out.
Yeah. Don't miss out.
Yeah.
Just listed. It's horrible.
So one thing that we know to be true is that telling someone they can't have something is one of the easiest ways to get them to want to have something.
Sure.
Anyone who's ever had kids knows this, right? So what I would say for an opening hook for a listing, I might say like, I don't want to share this listing with you.
Yes.
And now they're like, huh? And then like, because I was like, because the moment you see this home, you're going to want to sell your house and buy this one. And so you got to turn the corner and tell the story. So if I got this great listing I want to promote, here's this beautiful listing. It's 3 acres. It's 4 bedrooms. Okay, I'm falling asleep. But if I say, hey, I don't want to share this home with you because I know the moment you see this home, you are going to want to stop everything you're doing and come down here and put an offer in. Like that, you know what I mean? Like, you guys with me? Like, that's how you build excitement and anticipation.
Right. I was actually thinking while you're saying that, your neighbor doesn't want you to buy this house because they're fearful that you drop the price on yours and crush their equity.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
I love it.
Jimmy, about this, first of all, I'm highly impressed at your creation of a Claude artifact. It is beautiful. If people are not watching on YouTube right now, they are missing pure artistic beauty, prompted by Mr. Jimmy Mackin. I'm thinking about, and we might have talked about this in the past couple of weeks, 1000 Watt, you mentioned them earlier, Tom. They do great consumer research. They had a recent piece where they asked sellers about their selection process for picking a listing agent.
Yeah.
And sellers, they said they found the process of picking a listing agent to be stressful because of, Tom, to quote you, the sea of sameness.
Yes.
And so a lot of what I like about these hooks is they automatically appeal to, this is what's different. This is it's breaking tradition. It's stepping away from the norm. I'm looking at their data now, and it's like, basically, if you add it up, 2/3 of people just couldn't tell real estate agents apart, and they didn't know what to look for. And so I think the power of, Jimmy, to your point, in your blog titles, in your subject lines, in your opening video hooks, in your postcard copy, in every aspect of your marketing, there is an at-a-glance moment that is going to serve as a hook or not. I can't think of any kind of a marketing, can you, where there's not a hook involved. There's going to be some little sampling that I am going to use to decide, should I keep reading or listening or watching?
There's an expression that I use, Jason, which is attention is not the goal, it's the gatekeeper.
That's so good, man.
And that's kind of what we're talking about here is that, at the end of the day, this is whether you like it or you don't. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, this is a kind of category you just have to get good at. By the way, look at this one here, guys. Okay, why is everyone suddenly moving to this neighborhood? I mean, like, so just like one of the things I try to do when I write, and this could be a good pro tip, because again, we just know that Tom and I and Jason and I talk about this all the time. Like, the difference between an inexperienced agent and an experienced agent is an experienced agent is always marketing. They are always selling.
Right.
But the thing that I like to do when it comes to creating marketing campaigns, because I've now created like thousands of them, is I try to start the beginning off at the middle of a sentence. It's like, so I'll write an email or write a letter, and it will be like, this is like the beginning of it, and then I'll just delete the first like 3 lines, and that's where I
Mhm.
start.
Sure.
And so just that flow where you feel like, it feels like when you're reading it, you're like, man,
It
this
feels like a
person,
novel. That's
it,
how a novel might start, right?
it
Hmm.
just feels like the person's talking to you.
Yeah.
And it's a quick pro tip for pro marketers. Like, you just delete the beginning of it, and then like that's when you finally get into your flow.
I love it.
What's interesting about this, guys? I was doing some research this morning, and it'd be fun, Jimmy, to play off this. I was just looking at like what are the frustrations consumers have around real estate agents kind of post the transaction.
Hmm.
And I don't think anybody's going to be shocked by the number one thing was I never heard from my agent again.
Mm.
Right. And we know the sort of typical stats, and it always gets updated. 80% of consumers said that they would work with that agent again, yet less than 12 or 20%, depending upon the data you read, ever did. And, beyond the obvious disappointment and abandonment that consumer feels, you think about the consequences of that. And then I go beyond it. And this is where I think it'd be fun to sort of play off the hooks. It's poor communication is another one of the complaints, lack of advocacy,
Yeah.
underprepared or uninformed, too salesy, not advisory, and no post-sale support. Each of those could very easily be played off in some form of a hook. I'll send you the research I was doing, guys, on ChatGPT.
Wow.
But
Yep.
I just, again, when you have these tools, it just becomes easier to
Hmm.
separate yourself from the competition. And to your point, to actually get beyond the gatekeeper and grab their attention.
You know what's interesting, Tom? You just spoon fed. If you go back to Jimmy's first billboard and the
Hmm.
question of
Hmm.
what's the 180 principle, if you're a newer agent,
Right.
you're
Right.
competing against the bigger agent who sells hundreds, if
Mhm.
not thousands of homes. You
Yep.
just spoon fed the language they should use in their hooks, which is
Hmm.
100%.
advocacy,
A
all those
hundred
things.
percent. Yeah. So for
Yeah.
my friends that were out there paying attention, all I did was went to ChatGPT, and then I always go to Grok separately, and then I'll do Perplexity also, and then see what the differences are. But it was, what's the number one complaint of the top complaints real estate consumers have of real estate agents? And you could make the argument, you could build your entire value prop just around being the opposite if you want to grow. If you want to grow. So let's transition. Jason, you put something together I thought was really interesting. I know a lot of our top teams listen to this. I had a nice compliment from one of the biggest brokers in Canada recently who texted me and said, congrats on the new show. Love what you guys are up to. So it'd be interesting for a segment of our market to understand what can sales leaders do if they want to measure more effectively and they want to recognize the talent inside their organization, big or small. So walk us through that little insight you had with one of your clients.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you. I'll do one better. I'll share.
Mhm.
We all know the principle from Peter Drucker. What gets
Mhm.
measured gets managed. And so whether you're
Yes.
managing a team or you're managing yourself, no matter
Mhm.
what, if you're not looking at the numbers, if you're not tracking, it's not motivating you. So
Yeah.
I'm going to share with you a technique that's being used by a team leader, but I'll also work it backwards for if you're a solo
Mhm.
agent, I'll give you the same
Sure.
solution for yourself to manage yourself.
Good.
So
Good.
take a peek at this email. We'll start with the end product. This comes from Derek Caldwell. He's one of our great coaching clients. He's part of AI Marketing Academy. And it says week 31 performance report. Performance score is a 91.3 out of 100. And it goes to, hi, Kayla Andrews, you're ranked number one on the team. And it gives some text and then it breaks down the numbers. And it's a beautiful, well done email. Let me just zoom in a
Mhm.
notch for us to see it a little bit more clearly on the screen. And it's got her stats and action plan. Then it shows the leaderboard of who's doing what on the team. And it's this beautiful branded email that looks at just the total performance summary and how she's doing. And so here's the basic idea behind it. A lot of teams or solo agents are keeping up with their sales production in a basic Google Sheet.
Hmm.
Using a Google
Yes.
Sheet to measure, I've got this many listings, this many buyers, all my data is there, is an easy process. What is not easy is running formulas and calculations and pivot tables to take that data and glean meaningful insights from it. But what if
Mhm.
I told you tucked away in all Google Apps is a product you probably don't even know or have never even heard of called Apps Script? Google's had it
Mm.
around for years, and it works for all Google App Suite tools. So that includes Google Docs, Google Forms, Google Sheets, Google Slides. You can create what's called an app script for any of them. And the app script, the reason why we don't know it exists is because none of us, I'm guessing, are coders. We don't write code. But this has been a message I've been preaching a lot at our Listing Edge events, just whenever I get a chance, that code is just a written set of instructions. And though I don't know how to code, guess who does? ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. So check this out, Tom. We go into an AI like, let's jump over here to this screen. This is me inside of Claude. And I just did a really simple prompt. I need you to create a Google Apps script for a Google Sheet that contains the following data in the worksheet. Then I just kind of went through and told it what it is. And then I said, write an app script. I'm picking up right here. Write an app script that analyzes the data, identifies meaningful trends, and it sends an email to my main email, which is info@jasonpantena.com. Please don't bombard that email, whereby it's able to infer and recommend strategic advice that would be motivating in terms of reporting on trends or patterns or opportunities in the production data that would make the recipient of that email work harder or close the gap. So in other words, let's email this person like a weekly report that motivates them on what's happening in their sales data. Does that make sense? And then look at this. It just writes all the flipping code. And I just hit copy up here. And then I go to my spreadsheet. Now, this is fake data. I just had ChatGPT make up fake data. So these are all fake names, fake addresses, fake everything. It's just fake data. But it's like client name, property address. Are they a buyer or seller? What's the list price? What's the sales price? What's the earned fee? What's the lead source? What's the status? Is it active, pending, closed? When did it close? If it closed, and notes. That's a reasonable spreadsheet. And if you go up to your main menu and you click on extensions, you're going to see right there app script. And if you go to app script, I just copy and paste the code Claude gives me. And I don't know what half of it means. And then I just click run, and it literally executes that code, pulling the data out of my spreadsheet. And then boom, it sends me an email that looks like this. And so if you're a solo agent, this is Jason's production analysis on today, Tuesday, July 29th, 2025. This is all fake data. I don't actually sell, but it's 159,654 in revenue earned, 6 deals closed, 22 in the pipeline. Gives me numbers, and then it gives me insights. It's like, hey, referrals are crushing everything at 60% close rate versus 0 from Facebook, and it had some other sources. Again, this is all fake data, but it's basically giving me little nudges to help sort of coach me through an email to stay motivated. So the idea is anything that gets measured gets managed. And whether you're a solo agent or running a team, your opportunity to either motivate yourself or to motivate your team members, I just think this is awesome. Not too shabby, right?
Right. I'm actually sitting here thinking about all the other things I can do with this. And probably mostly, Jimmy, what's going through my head is thank goodness my mom didn't have access to this while I was in school.
Right.
You know? Hey, look at all these F's. He's really not paying attention. Right. I love it. I mean, so I think a broker owner, I think a manager, I think a sales leader of any organization, right, big or small, I think that's extremely, extremely valuable and a nice way to recognize people, especially if you can then say, and here's some advice around what you should do next.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the obvious opportunity. So because some people, they don't like the feedback. Some people, especially if they see the list and it's, here's the top 8 and these 5 haven't done a transaction. Ooh, that hurts some people.
Sure. So you have to be careful and you have to get consent. Jimmy, did you want to pile in on that?
Well, just, first off, I think it's brilliant, Jason. I think the thought that goes to my mind is, where do you have an abundance of data and a lack of insight? And so what I would have it do as you walk through that, I would have it like every person on the planet who listens to this podcast and will ever listen to this podcast uses Google Analytics the same way. We log into Google Analytics, we look at what's going on, we go, that's interesting, and we log out and then go back to whatever it was we're doing. We never change our behavior. And so I love the idea of like your marketing team or your admin or maybe yourself, if you're doing it yourself, to like plug into Google Analytics, get the data from Google Analytics and use Jason's exact process. Say, Jason, as soon as we hang up this call, I'm going to go and do this for Google Analytics. Like, hey, analyze my Google Analytics and then tell me what I should do more of and less of in plain English. Like just like in the simplest way, Jimmy, do more of this, Jimmy, do less of that. And I think if you go that, whether it's a CRM, your production, your marketing analytics, Tom, I'm just thinking to myself, where do we have an abundance of data, but a lack of insight? And then apply this sort of model to it.
So I was on a coaching session with a really large team this morning. And the person I was working with said, we have all this data, and my boss asks me for how are the ISAs and OSAs doing in terms of
Yeah.
daily appointments. So during the coaching session, we just had Claude write an app script for, they already had the data. They just didn't have a way of reporting on the data or inferring its usefulness. We wrote an app script, and now there's an email going out automatically to the core people who need to know about
Yeah.
performance. And so again, it's anything that gets measured gets managed. And I'm looking at app scripts as all of us are using Google Sheets for stuff. And your ability to take those Google Sheets way far beyond what they are with app script, now that you can have Claude write the code for you, it's a game changer.
So let's turn this into a marketing exercise. So if I am working a geographic farm, or I really want to become known as the sort of recognizable expert in a community, I can see how I could download all the transaction history over a decade or so and use this to really create a really provocative, fascinating, whether it's a newsletter or just insights. Jason, make that idea better. How do I do
So,
that and
so
make
it's
it even
funny you bring
better?
that up. So I believe it was our first episode of this podcast. You talked about the idea of sending a homeowner a specific market update email for them. And then
Yes.
you said figure it out, which we did. We made it it's actually the focused training inside of AI Marketing Academy this month. And so the way we're doing
Yeah.
it is, man, it's really exciting. So you probably get the same emails I get. Zillow sends about once a week a zip code specific market update.
Yep.
And I'm
Yep.
like, man, they're having all the fun. We could have the fun. And so we set up a process where you have a Google Sheet and you're able to load your CRM contacts into the Google Sheet, and you're able to load in all your MLS data into the Google Sheet. And then we had Claude write that app script. And what it does is it sucks out the zip code from every person, and then it sucks out all the sales from the same zip codes. And then it
Mhm.
it literally analyzes all the data, and then it creates beautiful emails written in HTML that you can send to those respective homeowners, and it automates the whole process. And we actually, I mean, we get really into the weeds on this. We hard code it so that the emails, they're your fonts, your colors, your brand. It will look the same every time. You might have noticed, for those of you who are using AI, that it's hard to get a recurring response. It's really, you have to hard code your prompts in a very strategic way so that it's like clockwork every single time. But we did, and it's in the academy. And I got to tell you, this kind of goes back to the Mark Davidson thought about vibe versus being the knowledge broker. And if you look at the
Yes.
data, and this has been my soapbox for a while now, if you look at the data, sellers look to hire a knowledge broker. I asked the question a lot, like, what do you sell in terms of what are consumers buying from you? And they're not buying houses from you. They're hiring you on the basis of your expertise. And so if you make it your goal to position your expertise and just give away that value, kind of the Gary Vaynerchuk style, just give, 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 then all
Mhm.
you're doing is making a really ironclad case for why they should pick you. Jimmy, you said earlier, top producers never stop marketing. And what's the one thing that never stops alongside your marketing? The market. Why not market about the market and position yourself as the expert to help people make timely strategic choices and have the information they need to make those choices? That's where I just see the power of AI is such a driver of that. You can analyze data,
Yeah.
personalize it, send it out in emails, blogs, videos, market updates. I mean, I'm not gonna stop because it's so
No.
easy to do it right now.
And what I love about that, and then Jimmy, I want your insight here, is it's all about personalization.
I know. I
I
know.
don't really care how my zip code is doing. I really care about how my personal resonance is doing.
Right.
And if we
Yeah.
can move beyond, the zip code is anecdotal, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, whatever, 75201 is doing great, but is that my high rise, my
Mhm.
apartment? I want to know more about my stuff, like that,
Yeah.
that personalization marketing. So I love that.
Yeah.
What comes to mind, guys, is a postcard or a mailer that we'll probably do for listing leads and just put it out there because I think it's so smart. And Jason, just what you said, and Tom, like analyzing the market data, kind of be able to understand the trends at a really micro level. I would send a
Mhm.
postcard out or a sales letter saying, your home is going to be worth $1.3 million in 6 months.
I love that. I
Right.
love that.
I do
Yeah.
too.
And they're gonna go, huh? It's so different, right? And then we could say like, and then we could just have a trend. Hey, we've done an
Mhm.
analysis of your market, looking at the buyer demand and appreciation trends, and currently your home is worth 1.1 million. But if things continue as
Mhm.
they are, your home worth 1.3 million. My question is simple: It's probably a bad idea, but would you consider selling if you got an offer that was for 1.3 million today? And
Yeah.
also, what I would do if I was listing a house, like Tom, if I said to you, "Hey, Tom, listen, I got a stock right now. You can buy the stock for $100, and I guarantee you, with 99% certainty, that this stock will be worth $105 in 6 months." Like, okay, like it's a safe bet. And so I think this idea of like how I would market my listings. Hey, this listing is for $960,000. Now, that may seem like a lot, but when you consider that homes in this area, homes like this are appreciating on average 7.8%. You buy this house for 970. If things continue, that house is going to be worth 1.3 million.
Right.
Right? Like
Right.
now we can't predict the market, but what we can do is look back historically to see the trends and we can make a reasonable argument between A, B, and C and D. And so I think it's like, I'm not suggesting this is a way, Jason, to overprice your homes and sell the future. However, everyone in Phoenix, Arizona is like, yeah, Jimmy, that ain't gonna work here. But like, I just think this idea of like, can you have the guts to predict the future a little bit, right?
Yeah. So I have a thought. I love the idea of a postcard. I was just thinking through application. I was like, well, okay, that may require a custom printer to be able to create different postcards for different customers, but it also, I think, could be I'm this is just an idea. I'm curious what you think of it, Jimmy. What if you chose an area where you knew you're going to be north of 1 million? And you're like, in 3 months, your home's going to be worth 1 point, and then it was a QR code million.
Mm,
So they could scan it and then get on the list to be enrolled. So they
hmm
can get what are your
Right.
thoughts on that?
Well, Tom, you wanted to build on it, but like it's like the name your price campaign.
Yeah.
It's like the most like did you hear about your neighbor campaign? So some of the best campaigns we've seen in the ecosystem and beyond has been like ones where it's literally asks a question or opens up a loop and then has a QR code or a text to basically follow up.
Yeah.
Did you hear about your neighbor? QR code. Name your
Okay.
price. QR code. Your home is going to be worth blank. QR code. So those types of campaigns tend to do really, really well as a
Mm,
direct response campaign. Go ahead, Tom.
Like, this is probably a really bad idea, maybe even controversial. I just think there's certain states right now, and you could say, provinces in Canada where home prices are going down. And
Yeah.
and I think the mistake, I don't think, I know the mistake that people make in declining markets is they stop communicating. They stop
Hmm.
being truth tellers. Everybody looks like a rock star when home prices are going up. Hey, you're up 15%. Hey, we just sold this property in 3 days and got $93,000 more than asking price. Like, but no one really says, hey, you know what? We got this one for 92% of asking price. And the overall market is now down by X. And I think I know you guys know I did some research, and I think that every person listening should do the same. Do it on a macro, then do micro. The macro was I was looking at a 5 to 6 decade long study of home price appreciation, home price depreciation, right? Good markets and bad markets. What caused it to go up? How long did it stay there? What caused it to go down? How long was it in the trough? And then what was the beginning of the recovery? What were the early signals? And there was like 5 obvious things. And I'll be talking about these kind of a little more in depth at the summit. But the thing I want to stress to people is obviously rates, cost of money is what drives it. It's rates and the economy, and then migration patterns. But the thing that stood out for me in the research was that every market recovers. That every
mhm.
market recovers. And I think if I was in spots in Texas right now, or in Arizona, or parts of California, or parts of Florida, where agents seem to be reeling because they don't want to talk about the fact that longer days on market, too much inventory is actually causing home prices to drop. Again, I think it'd be really interesting to come out with something around every market recovers. I just did a five
Yeah.
decade long research piece on what's happening here in the Miami-Dade County marketplace, in the LA County West Side marketplace. And here's what I discovered. And I think being the truth teller in every market is a good idea.
Tom, the immediate thought that went to my head is the Barksdale quote. So James Barksdale, the founder of Netscape, he said like if because he'd have meetings and like everyone basically like throw out all these ideas, but no one would come with facts, with data,
Mhm.
with insight. And
Right. Right.
he goes, listen, everybody, if we're all gonna have opinions, guess what? We're gonna go with mine. But if you have some
Yeah.
like if you have some facts, let me know.
Right.
And I think
Right.
what you said, I want to just like make sure everyone does not miss this point. You said when the market begins to go sideways, people begin to stop communicating. And in
Bingo.
fact, I mean, Tom, that is such an important point you made. That is actually when communication matters the most.
That's right.
The market does not have feelings. You don't have to
Mhm.
apologize for it. It
Mhm.
is what it is. So here's a headline I would write talking about growth, right? Because again, everything we're talking about is just marketing, AI, automation, growth. How can you attract more market share in a declining market? What I would say, Tom, is the fear is people would normally say, Jason, like you should your house is declining in value. You should sell your house now because it's going to be worth a lot less. But what Tom just said
Right.
is like every market recovers. He's got 6 decades
Right.
of data on this. I would say my headline would be, or my hook would be, you shouldn't sell your house if you're afraid that you're going to lose value or you're afraid that you're losing value
Mhm.
because A, B, C, D. Now,
Right.
here's some good reasons why you should sell your house. Number one,
Mhm.
it's too big for you. Number two, you want to move closer to family. Number
Yeah.
three, like it no longer fits your needs. You're like, but like be the person who's the anti-hype person. You know,
Right. Right.
the crypto bros on YouTube who now transition to the real estate housing crash bros who are like, I'm in
Yes.
Austin right
Yes.
now. The market's like, be the opposite of those dudes. And I think your point is so important. I really hope people take away as one of the main lessons from today's show is like in a declining or challenging market, that's when people need you to communicate more, not less.
Right.
Yeah, guys,
Right.
that's both of you. What you said is just so killer. It really is. And it's funny, Tom. I was doing a presentation and somebody said the market's depressing right now. I don't want to talk about it. But you guys are right.
Right.
It's the
Right.
market. And Jimmy, I think I'm gonna echo you, man. Like this is when people need you the most to be the
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
it's your job to deliver the information that helps the consumer make an informed choice. You don't get to make the decision, they make the decision, but you give them the facts they need to make that decision.
Right. Right. Think about shout out to Chris Lydham at Royal LePage in Toronto, Royal LePage Signature. We were chatting yesterday about I was telling him about this research piece I'm doing, and he said, "Funny you bring that up. I just did the same exact thing, 7 decades long of the Toronto, the greater GTA marketplace."
Mm,
And I'm like, that's going to be a brilliant piece because it's going to say the same thing. Every market recovers.
Mm-hmm.
Every market recovers. And if you're paying attention right now, and I know you are, especially for all my friends up in Canada, you know, depending on the marketplace you're in, because of the tariffs, they're potentially a few weeks away from finally getting some tariff relief.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, and I would be really thinking about it from a marketing standpoint, when that happens, the sort of unleash of buyers into the marketplace is going to be bananas. I mean,
yeah.
everything about their economy looks fantastic, but they're in this sort of wait and see tariff
Mm-hmm.
environment. And once it goes through, it's gonna be mayhem. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you be a truth teller? Something on the lines of, tariffs got you down. Well, let me give you a little heads up. I did a 7 decade research piece on what happens in the GTA, and this is not the first time we've had a tariff war. This is not the first time we have, this, every major calamity. That actually might be the hook. Every major calamity, every major crisis. Here's what happened in the next 6, 8, 9, 12 months for real estate. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
even guys, even for us in the US, when you look at 2007, 8, 9, 10, it recovered a lot faster than most people expected. By 2012, get this, by 2012, we had already, like, the sort of glut of inventory was gone. And
Mm-hmm.
then what happened to real estate home prices from 2012 to 2019, pre-pandemic? It absolutely skyrocketed. And I don't know
Mm-hmm.
about you, but I'm curious for my friend that's out there listening. There were times in 2008 when I thought, oh man, I'm not sure how long this is going to last. Like, this
Mm-hmm.
feels brutal. But then you wake up 2010, things are a little bit better. 2011, it's really better. 2012, I mean, we were off to the races. So I guess, yeah, I like let's be true tellers. And if you're in a marketplace where you've got massive appreciation, congratulations. You better be speaking the same exact fire to your customer base.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, this is you missed last week's episode, Tom, but Jason and I were talking about this. And Jason, I did find out who actually, for those of you who listen to this podcast who listened last week, you'll know I used the line, a small admission gains a large acceptance,
Yeah.
right? Now, I was
Did you
afraid.
just, did
ChatGPT
you
gave you the credit.
Well,
Wait, did you just admit you guys didn't invite me to last week's show?
well, you're lucked out because
I don't know what you're talking about,
I,
Tom. What
I,
show?
I was afraid after I said that quote, Tom. I was afraid that was from like a dictator that said that as a way to like manipulate.
Yes,
It.
exactly.
But thankfully it was not. If you're looking for books on that, 48 Laws of Power is one of our favorite
Yes.
books here
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
Growth Mode. But what you described as a small admission gains large
Mhm.
acceptance. So
For sure.
admitting that the market's been challenging, admitting
Mhm.
that it's been confusing, admitting that people are on the
Mhm.
sidelines is
Right.
the first step towards getting people to move forward. That's all it is.
Yes. Because that's going to cause the consumer to go, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
finally,
Yeah,
yes,
that's right.
he's talking to me, right? He's right. That's what I've been telling everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
Finally,
brilliant.
someone telling the truth. I love that.
So why don't we switch gears to the very last topic, and then we'll do our fun little finish. ChatGPT agent mode. So there's no doubt if you want to grow, you know what it is, Jason. I just keep thinking about it's efficiency. I am looking at whether it's Clara, chat, like every possible thing I can do to get the minutia off my plate, off my teammates' plate, so they can just work on the stuff that matters.
Yeah.
So talk to us about this new
All right.
mode.
So we sort of talked about it last week. ChatGPT was rolling it out. Now we're filming this. It's July 29th. We're filming this. So depending upon when you're listening to it. But last week, Jimmy and I started talking about this new agent feature in ChatGPT, which I literally got access during the recording. So it was
Mhm.
fresh. Had some time now to kick it around and explore what it is. So real quick, let's zoom out. You mentioned Clara. We saw the news that Microsoft Edge is now going agentic. And so the buzzword is agentic
Right.
web browsers. What that
Right.
means is you're prompting AI to go do your web surfing and web activities for you. There is an actual web browser literally sandwiched inside your chat with ChatGPT, and you're going back and forth with it. It's almost like a Zoom session where you can do remote desktop and I can control the screen and take it over.
Mhm. Yep.
And there are definitely, I feel like I should give some warnings on this. There are some warnings
But
to be given with people.
before you do though, how is that different from Perplexity? Right. Perplexity now I can, call an Uber, I can order DoorDash.
Yeah.
It's almost like an app browser
So,
versus a web
so
browser.
I'll explain it the way I think Sam Altman attempted to explain it.
Sure.
So if you look at ChatGPT, if you're one of their pro subscribers, which is $200 a month,
Mhm.
a while back they launched their Operator. Operator
Yep.
is that built-in agentic web browser, and I
Yeah.
used it for a while. I'll be candid with you, it was lousy at using the web. I
Mhm.
mean, it navigated the internet like my grandmother the first time she tried. It was just rough. So I downshifted to ChatGPT Plus, and then sometime after that, they launched the deep research functionality that we saw catch fire across all the major LLMs,
Sure.
Grok and Perplexity and all of them. And
Mhm.
then Sam Altman came back around and he said, so we've now rolled out agent mode, which you can just turn on. There's a little in the tools section of your message box. You can just turn on agent.
Yeah.
It's for ChatGPT Plus, ChatGPT Team, ChatGPT Pro subscribers. And it's the mirroring of like three different core functions together. It's deep search built in, it's the agentic web browser built in, and it's all their analysis capabilities sort of working together. So how is it different than Perplexity? Well, Perplexity, especially on their mobile experience, lets you sort of control other apps on your phone. Like Uber, I can connect Uber, I can connect, and you're starting to see these connectors become more common. I meant to say that was the third component. So Sam said it's
Sure.
connectors, it's
Yeah.
deep research, and it's the agentic web browser together is what makes AI agent. So connectors is powered through this protocol called MCP, which we don't have to explain it. But you're seeing Claude do this, Perplexity do this, ChatGPT do this, where you have the ability to almost like an API have sort of a backdoor access. I can connect my Google Drive. I can connect my Dropbox. I can connect my Asana. I can connect my Stripe. I can connect my PayPal. And different apps are getting on board where they can either send or receive information from your AI, ChatGPT, Claude, etc. So Perplexity, their push was let's do mobile. So they started having mobile apps first. So I can go voice mode and say, hail an Uber for me at 2 p.m. black car service. And
Mhm.
it can literally open up the app
Mhm.
in line in the chat and do it for me. I have to press go, I confirm. But that was Perplexities. So what's happening here is different with Agent because it's not just the connectors, it's additional autonomy. And so just as a quick
Yes.
example, I did this really simple prompt. Act as a research assistant using the AI agent feature, and I've turned it on down here in the tools. You can see it's on. Research the Facebook ads library, which is where Facebook, from a transparency standpoint, makes all of their ads visible to anybody, even if you're not logged into Facebook. Google Ads Transparency Center is the same thing for all Google ads. And I was like, basically, I want you to spy on real estate agents and teams running ads. And I live in Nashville, Brentwood, Franklin, Tennessee areas. And then step one, identify the top list of advertisers. Step two is cross-reference them with publicly available production data. This is the deep research. So it's like it's going to go to the Facebook ads library, spy on their ads. It's going to do some deep research on who's winning and who's losing so it can spy on the right ads. I probably should have swapped the order of those, of the logic of those.
Sure.
Step
Sure.
three was, based upon your findings, give me 3 tactical ad strategies I could run that's contributing based upon your research to those agents' success. Focus on approaches with strong business impact and lead generation effectiveness. Understood. And then it worked for 8 minutes. And it went to, I did 12 different searches and it looked at 103 web pages. And I can actually look back at the web browsing. So here it is. It's working browser inside, and I can scroll along. I could take it there. It is in the Transparency Center. There it is in Facebook ads. It's looking at Gary. There's our buddy Gary Ashton over there.
Sure.
It's
Mark
literally
Spain.
surfing the
Yeah.
web. There's Mark Spain, and it's decoding all of this and looking at their ads. And then it goes down here and it gives me, if I click down, it gave me a full synopsis on who did what and what I should do and what it means. And so the ability to use agentic web browsing, where it's not just surfing the web, it's not just doing deep research. It has the ability, and this is what others don't have. So like if I do deep research on Grok, it can't
Sure.
go to a web page, click a link and go deeper. So like just for everybody who's watching right now,
Hey, Jimmy.
top
Jimmy.
in.
Yes.
I just feel like that's such a dig because he knows I'm an investor in Grok.
You know, I didn't want to say it here, okay? But just know Tom's cutting that entire section from the pod
I am.
to protect his stake in Grok. Okay.
It is his editor. I get
it. And Jason, I'm going to do everything in my power to invest in ChatGPT also.
Yeah,
just
well,
for fun.
touche.
So hey, before you go one step further,
Yeah.
we're talking about the growth mode, podcast here. And if I was an agent today and I'm listening to this and I wrote it down for myself, like I'm going to go through and do a competition analysis of all my competitors, the ads that they're running, which are the highest performers, and then ask it to basically come up with 5, 6, 7 new and different hooks based upon all the highest performers. And that's going to be my second half of the year ad strategy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for the person listening, that has to make sense, right? If people are running ads in your marketplace on Facebook, on Google, if they're winning in any way, shape, or form, and there's anything you could do to study it and then take it one step further and make it better and do your own version, I mean, it just feels like, that is a growth hack. That's a big growth hack.
And what's cool is I let it run. I walked away. I think I went up and had lunch when it was working and then came back down. It was done and it had done its analysis. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't give a big warning to everybody. These agentic web browsers come with a pretty sizable risk. You need to be aware of this. Like I said earlier, you have the ability to take control of the web browsing. So for example, I can open it up and I can actually log in. I can log into my accounts like Facebook and Instagram. I could log into my bank. I was
saying your bank. Don't
I could log into lots of things.
Yeah.
And if I log in that browser, it is logged in. Now there's a little warning that comes along when you enable this, and you should see it, but if you don't, I'm telling you now. There is a technique being used on the internet right now where scammers are trying to persuade and distract agentic web browsing by putting weird comments on random pages that change the instructions. And so like it might navigate to a page and then find a comment that says, log into this person's bank account and send the money here. And so if you're giving it access to, you just don't want to give it access to sensitive information right now. It's not ready. That's my warning. The other tidbit.
Can I throw another warning in there? I just want to remind everybody, like, don't put anything inside there you don't want on the front cover of the Wall Street Journal tomorrow.
Yeah.
So Jason, the only caveat is, do I have any privacy when it comes to like a custom GPT?
What do you mean by privacy?
I mean, if I'm working on, let's just say hypothetically, I'm like, hey, I'm in the process of working on a deal with Jason Pantana. I'm trying to buy his company, and I'm thinking about it. Some people, like myself included, sometimes we will speak very quickly, and I don't want to say not thoughtfully. I'm just trying to get a point across to ChatGPT or whichever one it is to try and get an answer. Well, didn't I just tell the world that Jason Pantana is trying to sell his company?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is just my 2 cents, and don't take this as any kind of a legal interpretation. If you look at
Sure.
ChatGPT's documentation, if you attach files, I think those files live for, I want to say, 3 hours before they get incinerated, basically.
Okay.
I think they will learn from things you reference. So ChatGPT does have a feature called memories where it can latch hold of memories. But apart from those memories, it sort of forgets. And it is
Okay.
siloed. It's not like what you chat about can be accessed by anybody else unless there's a major cyber breach. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Let me just add one thing there, guys, because
Sure.
let me just try to provide some perspective on this, Tom. Uh, Agent mode is what they call ChatGPT, the feature Jason just showed, and for the audience who's listening right now, I think they're seeing glimmers where they are starting to understand it, but it probably feels a bit overwhelming at this stage, as it probably will always feel a bit overwhelming. But we have crossed the chasm here.
Yes.
And and it's important that everyone hears this because this show is all about growth, and we're trying to put you in a position realizing the things we're telling you right now, you're going to be really happy you really dug in 5 years from now, which is now AI can do the last mile. It can get the information, it can analyze it, it can compile it, it can execute functions without you telling it how to do it, just telling it what you want to do. And when you start to understand it can do last mile, and yeah, it's early. Yes, it's a little bit complicated. Yes, there's some disclaimers. It can do last mile. It the types of real estate agents and teams that embrace this today fully will be so much more efficient, so much
Yes.
faster, and so much more profitable.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
like I don't want to. This is a controversial take, Tom, but I think we're about to experience the death of the VA. I mean, like I think VAs are on the all that outsourced. Like I think we're going to see the death of it because everything a VA typically can be done is a repetitive series of tasks that you defined. Well, guess what? Agent mode just replaced that for $200 a month.
Right.
It's $20 a month.
Right.
I mean, it's
Whatever, exactly,
ChatGPT
20
Plus
bucks.
too.
Yeah.
The only caveat I see right now is you are starting to see some defenses. So, like for example, there are certain websites, especially big ones, that have countermeasures in place that can detect non-human traffic. So,
Yeah.
for example, I know Zillow is one of those websites. So Zillow has the
Yes.
ability to detect non-human traffic.
Jason, I just used it the other day and it got detected and the AI overcame it.
Did it
The AI
really?
yes, it like overcame like the caption. I was like,
Did it really?
don't show that to Rich Barton. Yes, like it did.
So are we talking about like where it's sometimes hard to read or impossible to read the number of reviews somebody might have on Zillow or even on your Google
Yeah,
business
we
page,
are.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
a
was
great,
gonna, I
it's a
mean,
great insight. Yeah.
Tom, I know this is really nerdy. And I know this is nerdy, but this is where I was going with it when I made slams against Grok. And now but I really don't have actual slams against Grok. I like them.
Yes.
When you're AI and AI is doing like research, it
Mhm.
doesn't see a web page UI. It doesn't, nor these do. It doesn't. Normally, what it sees is like view page source. It sees this. It just sees like
Yes.
weird information. And
Right.
so, for example, Tom, to the point you just made, um, AI search cannot see reviews because it's dynamic content, but agentic web browsers have full access to the front end UI, and so it can see it. And so, man, last mile stuff is happening right now. I was on a phone
Right.
call with a friend like a week or so ago, and I was like, man, the minute that the operator browser really gets straightened out is when it's like game on. And then the next
Right.
day they make their announcement, they're releasing agent mode. And I'm like, this is it. This is the opportunity to board the train and get ahead.
So does this mean Perplexity actually has a really good idea by launching their own browser?
Oh my gosh, they're so far ahead on that.
Yeah, they are.
Comet browser, I got on the wait list, what, 6, 7 months ago? I
Yes.
think you're going to see more and more agentic web browsers pop up where the idea of how we surf the web, what does this mean for automations?
Yeah.
I mean, we're just going to see in the next 12 months so much change.
Yeah.
And I would tell you right now, if you're listening and you want to get it to work faster, give agent mode tasks that are more like deep search. So, for example, if you give it a task like, I need you to click here, go there, scan here, and do this. It's not going to go draw a picture in Paintbrush and do well at that. It just isn't. But if you do like what I did, where it's like, I need you to analyze these competitors on these websites and give me the findings, that's where it's going to absolutely crush because it marries those three features that Sam Altman talked about, the connectors, the deep search, and the web browsing all together. That's agent mode.
Well, let's switch gears. I think as we wrap this up, I know we always want to do a little overtime. Did you guys do overtime last week, or did you blow that off like you blew me off being on the show? just playing.
No comment.
I think I was on a golf course
overtime.
or something. Yes, yeah, extra. So what do we got? I mean, overtime. Hey, this week, Apple, Meta, Google, all announcing their earnings. And I think it's going to be a really big week. I mean, today was a soft day in the stock market, but we've been on a tear in the stock market. So I think it's going to be a really big week. And I'm hoping, here's my overtime comments, will Apple buy Perplexity and make me a happy guy?
What's the possibility of that in your mind, Tom?
So listen, Apple is a world-class company who has completely missed the mark on everything AI.
Completely.
And here's the thing, like, I mean, every time I get on Siri now, I'm pissed.
I know.
I'd be curious for my friend listening, like Siri is just Siri is as antiquated as a Google search is in 2025. It might even be worse. I feel like I'm literally somebody just carved out a wheel and we're like excited to have this new technology. That's how Siri feels. So Apple is also sitting on trillions of dollars. So it just makes sense for them to could you imagine if your iPhone suddenly Perplexity was the automatic browser? Now they've had a deal with Google forever that's been worth tens of millions of dollars a year. So I don't think they're going to completely throw it in the trash, but I think they're going to give people a choice, right? Or they're going to make a very strategic bet and make it the only option.
I think they should go for it. I think that their future depends on having they don't, to my knowledge, they've got nothing moving into this space. I think they need something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yes, I think Siri is Siri and frankly Alexa. Alexa has now become sort of like what used to be like a better version of Siri. Like Alexa feels like when you ask it, like, oh, we search Wikipedia. So you're seeing that right now. So the question is that maybe, and the thing is, Tom, could you just comment real quick on Comet with Perplexity? Because their new browser, Comet, just got released. Jason's on the wait list because he's too cheap to pay the $200 a month. Because
I don't pay. That's right.
Tom's an investor in Perplexity's Comet. And well, he would get you in. If you stop trashing Grok so much, he probably could get you on bumped up on that list.
They'd probably love it if I trash Grok over Perplexity.
What I saw there was like it was like having AI just like it allowed you to like access all of your apps while you're in the browser. And what's interesting about this is, and I want to get your take on this for overtime, is what do we think? What do we think are the first types of tasks that will feel like nobody ever does them anymore now manually? Meaning, look at a real estate team or an agent. What are the tasks that are most susceptible to being disrupted by some of these agentic mode tools or some of these browser tools? Like, what do we think is going to be like the first thing agents are going to stop doing in 2026 that they do today in 2025?
So controversial, potentially. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go first.
I'm going to say consumer first. Everything I buy online, I'll just do through one source. Right. I think that if I was, and believe me, I don't think our friends at Amazon are worried about much, but only the paranoid survive. That would concern me because I think the ease of shopping and online shopping hey, I need a new pair of, white sneakers by, whoever in a size 11, and I'd like to get them, by tomorrow. I think that stuff's just going to happen. So how does that relate to an agent? Jason, you and I have had this conversation. Like, how are consumers going to search online for properties? They're going to ask,
I know,
hey, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Highland Park, and I want to be under 4 million.
Right.
Do me a favor, since there's no homes on the market, find me the people that are most likely to sell, and maybe give me some insight on the letters I can craft to send it, from myself or from my agents to ultimately get the property before anybody else does. I think we're going to see that. I mean, listen, we've been talking about this stuff for 3 years, Jason. Like, it's,
I know. Well, we have been, and I fully see home search just being completely revolutionized.
Yes.
I should have done it. I mean, I mean, I'm sure somebody's working on it now, but it's like,
Mhm.
at the very least, Claude with their MCP is going to make a wrapper where it can be done
Sure.
like that.
Right.
My thought, Jimmy, goes back to your comment about the end of the VA. I would ask the question, what are agents already hiring VAs and admins for? And I don't mean this is controversial, but it's inputting listings, it's scheduling showings,
Mhm.
it's getting data for running comps, it's running the
Yep.
comps, it's things like that.
So would you give ChatGPT agent mode access to your MLS?
Yes. The simple
Right?
answer is
Like
yes, right?
I
I
would,
mean,
right?
the answer is of course. Now the question is, who's going to create I don't know, the overlay, Jason. I'm saying that the wrong way. Sorry, it's been a long day of writing. That is basically branded to me through through my agentic that's searching the MLS for all my consumers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think the power of the agent, I mean, theoretically, what Jimmy's talking about is you just give it an authorization to log in and it's logged in
Mhm.
as you and it can go click through and do stuff. I think I would ask the question about, I think MLSs are going to probably start publishing policies on this stuff and they're going to
Yeah,
have
For
regulation,
sure.
I'm guessing.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Or they're listening to me now and thinking we should regulate that. I don't know
Yeah.
which it is.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you for listening, friends of
yeah,
the
thank you for
MLS.
listening
Yes.
Yeah.
because they probably
Yeah.
should.
Yeah.
I do still have, so I think we're still, even though agent mode is out, I still think it's not the greatest at surfing the web yet. It's still a
Yeah.
little
Sure.
clunky. I think we're probably 6 months to a year away from it really being fluent in a lot of these tasks. But I'm looking at the inputting listings, transaction coordination.
Yeah.
Uh, I was working on one the other day, like, hey, let's say my listing is 123 Banana Street. Go look it up on Zillow, Redfin, Homes every day and report back on the number of views and saves and then create an email and send it to my clients, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I ran into we detect this is not human traffic. And I was like, I guess I can't do that. And so
Right.
I think there's
Do
just
you want
some
to?
learning curves.
Do you guys want to hear I just did a research piece on this. Do you want to hear the 7 ways potentially that AI will disrupt traditional workflows of real estate agents in North America?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's get it.
So number 1, it says lead generation gets smarter and cheaper. Today, agents manually farm, cold call, buy leads, or rely on referrals. AI disruption, tools like GPT-powered CRMs and predictive analytics, name a few companies, identify who's most likely to buy, sell before they raise their hand. The outcome is less spray and pray, more precision, and the best agents will have the right conversations early, leading to higher success. Then it goes into marketing, becomes automated and personalized, things that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Transaction management, workflow, paperwork becomes nearly automated. AI assistants will replace all the basic tasks, the stuff we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And it even goes one step further to, this is why I'm excited about Clara, setting the appointment, autoresponders to people, nurturing long-term leads. I know all the CRM companies are paying attention to this right now. Search showings and valuations will all be, so search, showings, and valuations will all be AI driven. And I thought the interesting one was when they talked about virtual showings with avatars or AI voices as a walk through the buyers, giving them like a precision experience, if you will, of the house before they actually enter the home. I don't know about you guys, but I look at a lot of real estate, and every agent that's ever worked with me knows I walk in the house and in like 2 seconds, I'm like, okay, we can go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think I'm that abnormal from, most buyers. And then the last one was industry splits, experts versus order takers.
Mm-hmm.
The AI enhanced expert will know the market in real time, understands people and their needs. And because of AI, they could expect to, 2 to 10x their productivity, where the order taker, relying on legacy systems, still shows homes, still fills out forms, and ultimately gets squeezed out by tech. And to a certain extent, fellas, we're seeing that already with the numbers I'll be sharing at the summit this year. This sort of we talked about commission compression being a factor so many years ago, and now post August 17th we saw the opposite. But now the consolidation of transactions at the top is really fascinating. So anyway, long answer to yes. I think Agentic is going to have a massive impact on smart agents, and those that are listening, Jason, and paying attention to everything you're talking about in AI Marketing Academy and more, are just going to be farther. That's all it is. And we all know, and maybe we'll end it on this. We know that someone right now is in the process of building a tool that I hope I get to invest in
that does all this stuff real fast at a super low cost.
Let Jimmy and I in. Let us know.
Yes, exactly. Well, all right. So, Jimmy, any closing thoughts here before we wrap up the show?
Listen, well, we're doing this show every single week here, guys. And I hope people are taking a ton of notes from these shows. I definitely want people to drop questions in or comments in on YouTube or on Instagram where we're watching this thing. Because, for us, we are so committed right now, especially in this market. And especially with everything that's happening, we are so committed to helping the agents who want to win big. And so we're doing the research. We're trying to look at the landscape, figure out what's actually working right now, what you should be paying attention to. So we want to keep hearing that feedback in the chat, and we're going to keep this thing rolling, guys.
Love it. Jason, thoughts as we before we bounce?
I am grateful for those who are tuning in, whether you're listening or watching. And man, this has been a blast. We said we were going to do these shows in like 40 minutes. I'm showing an hour and 15 on my little time clock down here.
Yeah.
Talking to you guys, the time just flies. This has been a blast. So for those who are making it till the end of this show, I'm grateful for your attention, and I can't wait to hear about what happens when you put these ideas into action.
Love it. Well, my sentiments exactly. So for my friend out there listening, we'll keep doing these shows as long as you keep promising to grow. All right, my friends, I'll see you guys soon on the next one. Take care.
Take care.